2026 is called to order. Members, if you would please sign in at this time. And clerk, if you'll open up the voting board for everyone. Everyone will sign in. All right, Mr. Clerk, if you would take the roll.
Mr. Chair, you have 8 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin our business, are there any personal orders or announcements? Representative Jones.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I see a lot of friends in the audience, but I just wanted to shout out 2 in particular. We have a first grader named River who is with us, and he's here to protect the rivers. So I just want to welcome River, and thank you for waiting all this time to come to our committee. And then also I want to shout out Grandma Ann, who is actually my horseback riding teacher from Murray County. And just thank you so much for being here. We've done some rides on the Duck River down there, so thank you for being here.
All right. Any other personal orders or announcements? Okay, without any further announcements, let's take care of some housekeeping business. Without objection, item number 4, House Bill 2308 is taken off notice. Item 6, House Bill 2091 is rolled 1 week. House Bill 1259, what's the number? Item 8 is rolled 1 week. Item 9, House Bill 1509 will be off notice. Item 10, House Bill 1289 has been rolled 1 week. And item 13, House Bill 848 is taken off notice. Now we'll move to House Bill item number 1, 1510 by Speaker. Yes. Representative Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to roll item number 17, House Bill 1983 by me to the final calendar.
Without objection, we will roll that to the second calendar.
To the final calendar.
Final calendar. Thank you. House Bill 1510 is number 1 by Speaker Marsh, Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. Representative Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move this to special calendar 3.
Objection.
All right, there's a motion and a second to move it to special calendar 3. There is an objection on that. We're going to vote. It's not a final action. All those of moving that to special calendar 3 say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the noes have it. We will, the motion fails. We will now move to that. And Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, you are recognized, and you have we need a motion and a second on your bill.
Motion second.
There's a motion and a second. Now you can present your bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to respectfully ask that we roll my bill 2 or 3 spaces.
Without objection, we'll roll it 3 spaces.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now we will move to the second item on by House Bill 2535, Leader DeLambeth and Chairman Grills will be presenting. Is there a motion? Motion and a second. At this time, Chairman Grills, your motion is ready to be presented, and we're going to recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill modernizes the Tennessee Production of Oil and Gas Act, originally enacted in 1943, to reflect advancements in oil and gas technology, environmental science, and regulatory practices. It updates outdated definition, removes duplicative and conflicting statutory provisions, and clarifies permitting, reporting, and operational requirements while maintaining environmental protections. And with that, I move previous question.
That's out of order, I think. And is there any questions? That is in order. And with that, we will begin to start our voting. Clerk, if you'll open up the board. Give Representative Fritz here a moment to get signed in here. That's very well. Thank you for your helping us move the committee along today. Clerk, would you please take the roll call, take the count of the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 ayes, 0 nays, 1 present not voting.
House Bill 2535 moves to full committee. Now we'll move to item number 3, House Bill 2550 by Leader Lambeth with Representative Wright presenting. Motion and a second. Representative Wright, you have a motion and a second. You may present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 2550 is titled Hunting for Heroes Act. A member in good standing Tennessee National Guard with a valid U.S. military ID and information provided to the agency by the Adjutant General of the Military Department would be qualified for a no-cost sportsman's license in the same manner as a residential annual sportsman's license. And with that, I stand for questions and ask for your support.
Well, members, you've heard the explanation. Do we have any questions for Representative Wright? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. If you're in favor, vote yes. And if you're opposed, vote no. Clerk, if you'd open up the board and give us the total, please.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes, 0 nays.
House Bill 2550 moves on to full committee. Thank you. Item 4 is off notice, correct? And now we're moving to Chairman Doggett, House Bill 2375. There's a motion. There's a second. Chairman Doggett, you have a motion and a second. Do you have an amendment for this bill?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me see here if I can get you that amendment code that you need. I believe the amendment code, Mr. Chairman, is going to be 14221.
That's exactly what I have. Is there a motion on the amendment? Second, without objection, all in favor say aye. All right, then the amendment's on. Chairman Doggett, your bill is ready to be presented to us with the amendment.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman and committee, and I understand where you are right now because I have sat on a late afternoon criminal justice committee many a times, and so I know that you are putting in a long day, and I appreciate that very much. Mr. Chairman, for the past several years, being from a rural county, I've tried to come up with a way to get additional revenue back to rural Tennessee. And every year that I've tried this, I run into roadblocks where we end up finding that the only way to do that is to disperse some type of monies back to those counties, and it's all based off of population. So where I live, we have 0.46% of the state's population. So anytime that there would be monies diverted back to those counties, we would only get 0.46% of that. Places like Shelby County would get roughly 13% of those funds. And so having those conversations with my county commissioners for the past several years, my county executive where I live, put me in touch with a very nice lady. She's a school teacher. She's also a county commissioner, Miss Jenny Rose Walter, who is watching us today, right now. She worked with Mr. Thomas Burnham, and then again, my county executive, Graham Stowe. And what they had looked at was the green belt. The green belt is, it's a great tool for our counties, for our farmers to be able to utilize to put property in that designation. It helps with their property tax that they pay on a yearly basis, but it's at a reduced rate. And so counties that have a lot of green belt acreage will end up bringing in a reduction in their funds that they would receive throughout that process. And so there was a TASER study done in 2009 that looked at the amount of greenbelt acres. Now, mind you, back then in 2009, it was capped at 1,500 acres per individual. And the General Assembly and I advocated for a bill a few years ago to raise it to 5,000, but I think we settled on 3,000 either a year or maybe 2 years ago, because agriculture is such a very important part of our state. And so what we have come up with is a plan that we would invest some money from the general fund to a grant program called the GIFT Act, the Greenbelt Initiative Fund Transfer. And there's a list of criteria that are involved that counties could apply to this pot of money to help offset some of those revenues that they would otherwise be missing because of the amount of acreage that they have that is in the Greenbelt program. For instance, Fayette County, 78% of their total acreage for their county is in the Greenbelt. Hardeman County, 81.9%. Where I live in Giles County, it's 84.8% of our total acreage is in Greenbelt. Lincoln County, where Miss Rose Walters is from, is at 86.3% of the total acreage of the county is listed in Greenbelt. And so with this, counties, as I said before, there's a criteria that's set up. There's a scale, that's weighted, but also in this amendment, it says that counties with 70% or more in their acreage that is in Greenbelt would be prioritized. And there's about 25 counties that would fit for, that have over 70% of their total acreage in there. It also establishes a fund that the treasurer would invest that revenue in each year. So our goal would not be a total depletion of the fund. It's a one-time appropriation, but yet the fund would be invested by the treasurer, just as your local county commissions or your trustee would invest those funds that they bring in property tax each year. How they invest those money, it's the same type of fund. And so what we're asking here today is to start this program to get it going, to help bring some revenue back to our local rural communities.
Members, you've heard an excellent presentation today. Are there questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Members, we'll open up the board. Clerk, if you are in favor, please push yes. If not, push no. Clerk, please take the vote for us.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes, 0 nays.
House Bill 2375 moves on to full committee. We will go back to item number 1, House Bill 1510 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. Do we need a motion and a second? And we have that for sure. If we didn't have it before, we got it now. And you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. HB 1510 would change Tennessee Code Annotated Title 11, Chapter 13, the statute that establishes and governs the Scenic River Program. This program exists to help protect portions of rivers that are valued for their natural, scenic, recreational, historic, or cultural qualities. Under existing law, rivers or river segments can be classified into different categories. For example, Class 1 is wilderness, largely undeveloped, high scenic protection. Class 2, pastoral, scenic but allows agriculture and other traditional rural uses. And Class 3, recreational, scenic but allows broader uses. HB 1510 would designate specific stretches of this Buffalo River, the Duck River, and other rivers in the area and creeks as Class 2 pastoral river areas. If enacted, official designation or expanded parts of the Buffalo, Duck, and other rivers as Class 2 pastoral scenic river areas, providing a formal conservation recognition within state law, requires expanded public outreach by the state, meaning more education and community support with local landowners and communities about scenic river designations and management, and it would build on existing scenic river law that balances scenic protection with agricultural and rural land use rights. It requires landowners' consent if boundaries include private property. And the main thing that I'm trying to do with this, I live on the river. I have a farm and I live on the river, and the Duck River is 284 miles long. It travels from Coffee County through Bedford to Marshall to Murray and into Hickman and over in the western part of the state. In Bedford County, the river, we have 90 miles of river in Bedford County. I have community leaders and elected officials that have sent recommendations and letters of support for us to make the Duck River a Class 2 scenic river. And the opposition that we're having to this, I'll just tell you the way that I didn't really understand that. But when you do a scenic river, a Class 2 scenic river, in there it says that the river cannot have a landfill within 2 miles of the river. So in Bedford County, we've got 90 miles going down through Bedford County, and 2 miles on each side of that river cannot have a landfill. I did a little research, and in Bedford County, we've got 304,000 acres, total acres. And if we do what we're talking about doing today, 76,000 acres will be in that 2 or 4 acre, 90-mile position. So that basically leaves 75% of the rest of the acres that we can do whatever we want to do, whatever the citizens of Bedford County and of the area want. And if we pass this legislation, we will have 1.8 million acres total across the state as a scenic 2 river, which is 6.7% of the total area would be in a scenic 2 designation. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions, and we do have some people to testify if you need any more information.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, before we proceed to testimonies or questions, we do have an amendment that's presented by Chairman Todd at this time. And do I have a motion on, oh, there's a motion, is there a second? Second. Chairman Todd, would you give us your drafting code that you can present your motion?
It is drafting code 15402.
That is correct. And will you have a motion and a second? Would you do to adopt that without objection? We'll adopt that amendment onto, well, no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We need to let you explain your amendment, and then we're going to go to testimony and question. Go ahead,
Okay.
Chairman Todd.
This committee has in the past dealt with this same situation, and we're going to see it again in the next week or two, because there are folks in our state that want to circumvent state law that lays out a process for landfills to be sited in the state, wherever they are. It's a long process, very difficult process. TDEC gets involved, locals get involved. You've got the Jackson law, you've got all kinds of layers of laws that are on the books. And unfortunately, this Class 2 Scenic River Act has been weaponized. That's not my words. I've had TDEC personnel tell me that very regularly. That is weaponization of a Scenic Rivers Act that was never meant to do that. It totally circumvents all of the solid waste laws we have in the state. Puts a blanket of protection over an area where you can no longer have a landfill. Speaker Marsh mentioned the acres in Bedford County. The total acres involved here there's almost 200,000 acres that we're talking about. Countless property owners. And I don't think we can sit here today without considering those property owners that we are now taking rights away from. And the best I recall, we all took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state. And Article 1, Section 21 of the Tennessee Constitution says we cannot do this. We cannot take another person's property without writing them a check. And that's equivalent to Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution that says the same thing. So to be consistent with the Constitution, we either have to have this amendment on or this bill has to die, because this is taking people's property by putting that scenic river designation with the landfill provision. All this amendment does is says the landfill provision does not apply here. You can call it a scenic river. You can put signs up. You can treat it however you want to. You can protect it any way you want to, but it takes the landfill provision off of that. And there's already a lawsuit going on right now. And my understanding is the state of Tennessee is going to lose that lawsuit. There's no question that what this legislature did a couple of years ago with this exact same part of the same river that's named here, this exact same situation, we're going to end up writing a check for probably hundreds of millions of dollars that all of you get to pay for, because a few people in Murray County do not want trash in their backyard. They want their trash to go to another county. That's the bottom line here. They have hired lobbyists They've got no telling how many $100,000 have been raised and spent on high dollar lobbyists to lobby this bill. Every one of y'all have been worked. Every single one on this committee has been worked to force this down the throats of those landowners in that 200,000 acres. And next year they'll come back and do it again. They'll add a few more creeks and we'll soon have what they want, all of Murray County blocked off for landfill. So we can never have a landfill in Murray County. And I'm not saying you need one in Murray County. Right now, I think their trash goes to one of your counties, Speaker Marsh, best I remember. But one day down the road, their grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to need a place for their trash to go. So it's not in their living rooms. And this boxes them in and says, not here. You're going to have to pay whatever anybody wants to charge you to take your trash. That's what we're doing. On top of no telling how many lawsuits we're going to have. That's what we're dealing with here, folks. Go back to your principles. What is your oath of office? What does the Constitution say? That's what we've got to focus on. Not what a bunch of folks have raised money to convince you of. It is what are the principles you came here to uphold. That's what this is about. And I ask you to put this amendment on this bill.
Thank you, Chairman Todd. Speaker Marsh, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have not had a single soul since I've been dealing with this legislation that said they wanted to sell any of their land for landfill. Not one person. And in my county alone, we've got another 250,000 acres that are available that would suit a perfect landfill. Nobody wants a landfill, like you said, but we have plenty of land that's available for this. So I would ask that you please vote down this amendment.
Members, you've heard the amendment and you have heard, I understand. You've heard the, I understand. You've heard the amendment. You've heard the speaker. It's this time I want to take questions at this time. Someone was trying to get my attention here. Chairman Todd.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And I will say, when we had this come up a couple of years ago, there was not one person that had come to us in this subcommittee saying that their property rights were being infringed upon. They didn't know about it. And there's no telling how many hundred people are affected by this that don't have a clue what's going on here today. They have no idea how much money has been raised to put behind this effort, how many lobbyists have been paid big dollars to lobby for this effort. They have no idea, but they're going to be affected. I don't know of any. No one's come to me. They don't know about this. Just like a couple of years ago, they didn't know. But as soon as it passed out of subcommittee and the lobbying started, that's when the landowners came forward and said, wait a minute, this affects my property. And that's why we're in the lawsuit. And we're going to write a check, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. That's just about a done deal. And I don't want to get us in that situation again. That's why I'm so adamantly opposed to this idea of weaponizing the Scenic Rivers Act to just do away with landfills in a certain area. That's wrong. It's just wrong to do that. So thank you. Mr.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to recognize Representative Fritz next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your passion to my colleague from West Tennessee. I love that about the Constitution. I hope it applies to everything. Sometimes we don't do that. My question for the sponsor of the amendment, if I may, is why did we just focus on landfills? I know that we had this conversation. It was very spirited a couple of years ago. And so why did we just focus in the amendment on landfills? Does it not violate other private property rights, of which you know, from the text you sent me, I'm absolutely a private property rights person. I think that part of what catches me about this is it's just about the landfill. And so I'd like to hear why.
Chairman Todd.
That is the primary focus of that Class 2 scenic river, other than just saying it's a pastoral river and we like it. It's a nice river. It says there can be no landfills. That's the only provision in it that takes away property rights. Now, I will say the emails, we've gotten tons of emails. They have motivated a lot of people from all over the country to write emails about this. Done a very good job at that. But one thing they tipped their hand at in the last couple of days is it isn't just about landfills. The emails now say we don't want landfills and we don't want developers. So what's next? Well, they're going to come up here and try to pass next to protect whatever their interest is. It's about them saying what you can do on your property without zoning or anything else. And we're putting a blanket law over this that takes away your property rights.
Representative Fritz, a follow-up if you choose, and then we're going to move on to someone else. So I want to keep I want to be moving. It's late. I want to get through this. So
Yes.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I had, when I'd looked through this and saw just the changes, I told you I'd committed. Your passion's going to change my mind. And so I appreciate that. I hope by God we'll stick to that on guns and everything else in the future, because sometimes we don't.
Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here just kind of in disbelief. This bill passed the Senate unanimously on consent calendar without the same type of obstruction and distraction. And I was on this committee a couple years ago, and I think it's insulting to the people who take their time week after week to come here, who are grandmothers and mothers and children and students and teachers, to demonize them for saying that what their interest is their community, what their interest is their next generation. And I think that they are on an apology.
Representative Jones, can we stay on the bill, not about other people outside this room, or
So-
stay on the bill?
I'm gonna stay on the bill, but you let the chairman attack people in Murray County. I just want to stand up and say that was unfair, an unfair characterization. The only lobbyists, people listening to lobbyists are on that side of the dais. I'll start with that. But what I want to say is that this bill passed unanimously in the Senate. Not one senator objected to it. It was placed on the consent calendar because it's a common sense piece of legislation. And I think there are personal grievances getting in the way of us doing the right thing for the people. And there's a personal beef between the representative from Madison County, representative from Murray County, and it's become a personal feud at the expense of the people who live in this district. And it's shameful, and it's not how government should work. And I think that what the interests that we should be thinking about are the interests of these young people who say that we want to protect the most biodiverse river in North America, that we want to protect access to clean water for our livestock. We want to protect the land around our farm. And the people of Murray County should have that say, not a representative who lives thousands of miles away in Madison County. And so I think it's unfair, and I think it's childish that week after week you act like this as the chairman of Agriculture Committee, and the people of Tennessee deserve better.
Chairman Todd for a response.
Thanks, sir. And by the way, Madison County is not thousands of miles away, just 120 miles away. So you might check your geography on that. But Senate passes a lot of things on consent calendar that we kill over here. That's a known fact. And I'm not insulting anyone by my statements. I'm just stating facts. And I will also say now, I mean, you guys see where Mr. Jones stands on this bill. If you want to side with him, you know what side he's normally on. That would concern me greatly.
Representative Jones, just a second. I'm going to recognize you, but you're recognized for a follow-up, and then we're going to move on to another member, as I did with Mr. Fritz.
I'll just say to my colleagues on this committee that Agriculture Committee should be a nonpartisan committee. This is a committee where we work together to protect people from dangerous chemicals in their food, where we work together to protect our natural resources. And we've made this committee into this partisanship because the chairman wants to beat on people who don't even live in his district, and it's beneath the dignity of this committee. That this Duck River fight is something that we should all care about as Tennesseans, because whether you're hundreds of miles away or thousands of miles away, we want to protect one of the richest natural resources we have for our next generation. And it is not an issue of left or right. It's an issue of what is right and wrong. And in your heart, you know what is right. In your heart, you know that this amendment is just an attempt to try and slow down the process. We had people wait 2 hours, and then we were told, let's put this on a special calendar. That was so disrespectful to the people who waited hours to be here today. And there's one member of this committee who acts like they're 5, but we have to act like adults. And the adult thing to do is to follow the people who represent this district, the people of Murray County.
Yeah.
The people of Murray County,
Mr. Jones,
the people who
please stay
represent this
on the
district,
bill.
and we've got emails from the people who live in this area. That's who we should listen to. The people, we believe that people who are local in this area, that's who I'm listening to. I don't live in Murray County, I live in Davidson County, but I got thousands of emails, I can count that number, emails supporting this bill as written from all walks of life. I did not get one email against this legislation, not one. And I went through my email to see all the emails that we got, and thousands of them were for this bill as written by Speaker Marsh and as presented by Speaker Marsh, not one against. That should tell us whose interests we should listen to.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Todd, Chairman Todd, do you have any response?
I certainly do. And again, I'll refer back to the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Tennessee. That is what we're bound by oath to do, and not violate that just because 1 or 2 people or 2,000 or 3,000 people think we should. They do not override the Constitution. That is our contract with each other. And if we start violating the Constitution over and over again, what good are we? We have no contract then. We are a nation of laws built on that contract between each other, how we treat each other and how mainly how the government treats us. It is a restriction on the government We all know that. And this is removing that restriction, saying, do whatever you want to, because a few people want to do that. That is not what we're here to do.
Thank you, Chairman Todd. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Calling for the question on the amendment, we vote on the board.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, Vital is. Let me just ask you this, Mr. Shaw. That's fine. If you want to stay with that, we're going to go with that. But I did have one other person that had asked to speak on the amendment. And our procedures say, when you call the question, that's what we're doing. But I did want you to know there was another individual. So I'm going to, are you going to stay with that, or are you going to withdraw that for the one other person?
I withdraw.
Okay, I'll recognize Representative Vital at this time then. And thank you for that graciousness. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Shaw. Tennessee has a long history of protecting its rivers. The federal government has protected some of those rivers. You look at the Obed River up in Morgan County. You look at the Ocoee and the Hiwassee. We've made them state parks. I respect all members of this committee, but I think, Chairman Marsh, the intent here is positive. It's about protecting the corridor. It's about the integrity of a river. Above it and below it are protected, and we must connect in between. And with that, I appreciate you bringing that bill. I'm not voting for this bill because of one member or another. I'm voting because I think my conscience says the people of Murray County want this river protected, and that's what this is about for the next generation of water protection in Tennessee. Thank you.
Chairman Todd, if you would like to respond, because we are on the amendment 15402.
Thank you for that. That last comment was about protecting the river. This does not protect the river from anything. It literally puts us in another lawsuit or 10 lawsuits. We don't even know. That's all it does. There's not a protection here. It's going to get us in lawsuits, and we're going to lose, and we're going to be back here changing that scenic rivers law because the judge told us to. That's what's going to happen.
Speaker Marsh, I'm going to go to you on the amendment, and then we're going to go vote. So if you would like to speak to the amendment, you're recognized.
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you
And then,
all,
let
your
me say-
passion on both sides.
Let me say one thing, Speaker Marsh. I want you to speak to the amendment, but I'm going to give the sponsor of the amendment the last word. I think that's only appropriate. Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank you all for this passion about on both sides. I mean, I would like to ask that the vote be on the board on the amendment.
We're going to do that. But first of all, I'm going to see, Chairman Todd, is there anything else you want to say?
I just ask for each member to search your soul for what your commitment to the Constitution is. That's what this is about. Plain and simple. It's not about what people want or not want. It is about the Constitution and what it says. We either abide by it or we don't. And if you don't vote against this amendment, you're not voting for the Constitution. You're voting to take someone's property rights, an unnamed person at this point. That's what you're voting to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk, if you would open up the board, we're voting on amendment 015402 by Chairman Todd. If you're in favor of his amendment, vote yes. And if you're against his amendment, vote no. Has everyone voted that wants to vote? At this time, clerk, would you take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 3 ayes, 6 nays.
The amendment fails. Now we're back on the bill, unamended. Speaker Marsh, I know that we have people here for testimony. Is there something else that you'd like to say before we have these that come to testify?
No, sir, I'm fine.
Okay. If without objection, we're going to go out of session. I'm going to ask Douglas Jones, Jason Gillum, Sarah Gillum, and John McEwen if they want to come and take seats at the front. We're going to give each of you 3 minutes and 3 minutes only to say what you need to say. And then if members of our committee have a question, they'll ask you that. Please have a seat if you would there at the table. All 3 of you or 4 of you that are going to say something. And Mr. Jones, I'm going to recognize you first. If you would, you've got 3 minutes and the timer is ticking when you tell us who you are and who you're with.
Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Doug Jones. I've been in front of this committee before. I hate to say this. I was Department of Agriculture lawyer back in the 70s. So I've been around the Department of Agriculture and these committees for a long, long time. I own a farm on the Duck River like Speaker Marsh does. I'm in Hickman County. I'm president of the Duck River Conservancy. I've got to spend 1 minute and respond to the arguments about the Constitution that are completely not grounded in law or fact. And the big thing I'd say to you about what you just heard about the Constitution, there's no injury. We heard speculation from one chairman about what's going to happen, but there's nothing in front of this committee or any judge or anything about injury to
Mr.
a
Jones,
property.
could I ask you to speak about the bill, the amendment? We've dealt with that. Could you speak about the bill? I think that would be more better use of our time here.
In my limited time, I want to talk about the state of the river right now. I'm responsible for that. My group's responsible from Manchester to the Tennessee River. It's in terrible shape now. It's fragile. The Duck River was strong at one time, but it's not now. It's at a tipping point. Murray County has 8,500 building permits waiting to be permitted. Spring Hill has a moratorium on building. I can just go down the line. Chapel Hill cannot put out a fire right now. They don't have pressure because they don't have water. The Duck River is in peril right now. We've got a lithium battery plant in Spring Hill that takes 7 million gallons a day, burns it. 43% goes, whoop, gone. The Duck River's in peril. We need this to protect the Duck River. And the idea somebody that's not even in our valley can come lecture to you about constitutionality is misplaced. Now, my last point, and I'll hush, I want to read you something that your group did. The Tennessee General Assembly, okay? The Tennessee General Assembly, after the National Geographic came out and said it's the 5th most biodiverse place in the world. This is what you did. You passed a resolution and you said, quote, that we recognize that the Duck River is one of the most biologically diverse, economic, and scenic rivers in the world. And that's what the Tennessee General Assembly recognized. Later in that same resolution, and for the record, it's 862. In that same resolution, they said, be it resolved by the Senate that the Duck River is a scenic river. You've already covered this before. You've plowed this ground before. It is scenic, as the representative said. It's important. The whole nation's watching this, not about
Mr.
worrying about
Jones, your
constitutionality.
3 minutes are up. I want to move to Sarah Gillum. And if the members have an opportunity to ask, please stay seated if you want to, Mr. Jones. We may come back and ask questions. I want to go to Sarah Gillum in your 3 minutes, if you'll tell who you are and who you represent.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for letting me talk to y'all this afternoon. My name is Sarah Gillum. I live in Santa Fe, Tennessee. I am a lifelong resident of Murray County, where I will tell you the Duck River has flowed through my life. It flows by my in-laws in Culleoka. It flows by my elementary school, Riverside. It flows through our square, and then it makes its way to my parents in Williamsport, where they live, and they walk to the river every day with their 2 little dogs. So I would like to tell you that this river flows through my life, really, truly. In 2023, I was here, so excited to be in the chambers and hearing your committee make decisions about the scenic waterway. And we were joined by members of our community, business, small businesses joined us. Many, many residents were here, and we all kind of sighed a collective sigh of relief that the Duck River was getting afforded some protection in our community. And I'll say that over the past year, I sat on the Duck River, the governor's Duck River Planning Partnership as a part of doing some community engagement. And I watched them as this 18-member, as you probably are aware, multidisciplinary group of people worked really hard to understand how we can protect the river and how this, the decisions we make about the Duck River specifically will be impacted for future, decisions like what we're making today. And then I will say that I've spent a lot of time and a lot of beautiful memories on the river. It feels like an old friend, I think is the best way to say it. And a friend that I would go to bat for if I felt like it was treated poorly, or a friend that I would stand up with if I felt like it was going to receive special recognition, like today. And I will also tell you that over the last week, starting on Monday, a letter writing campaign surfaced through someone who wanted to see, I'm not even sure who, the river protected. And this morning I checked the list and 6,700 signatures were there. That was not, that was only done by some concerned citizen that I don't know their name, but I'm hoping to find out. But that was pretty powerful to watch in our community. So many people sharing Doug's posts and other places in the community really rallying and making each other aware that this was happening in our backyard and how special this river is. So I really appreciate you guys listening to me and letting me have this time to talk to you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillum. We'll move to Jason Gillum.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jason Gillum. Committee members, thank you all for being here at this late hour. I am a board member of the Murray County Water System. I am also the chairman of Columbia Dam Now, an organization who is trying to rebuild the Columbia Dam and get a reservoir on the Duck River. And why am I here? Why am I speaking? It's because I have a grave concern for our river. Not unlike Sarah, I grew up on this river as well. I've spent my whole life in Murray County. And as a board member of the Murray County Water System, it is a precious resource that we rely on to distribute water to 8,800 customers that we currently have, that number growing daily. But the Duck River supplies water, as you already know, you've heard about it many, many times, to over 250,000 people. That is a precious resource that we have, and we must protect it. So I'm going to be short and just tell you that we absolutely support HB 1510. It is very important. It's vital to our community, our region. That water resource is life for Southern Middle Tennessee. So we've got to protect that, and not only for today, but for our future generations. So I just ask that you please take the importance of this river to us and that designation into consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Gillum, and John McEwen, our final guest to testify, and you have no more than 3 minutes, and we appreciate those who've gone under. Hint, hint.
Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is John McEwen. I'm a multi-generation Tennessean, and my family has lived on the Duck River watershed since 1881. My ancestors first settled our family farm. Today, I live in the same home on the same property along the banks of the Duck River in Hickman County. I'm a fifth generation to live on that land, and someday my nephew will become the sixth. In many ways, I see myself simply as a steward of this place for generations to come after me. My family's connections to these rivers run deep. We own land along the Buffalo River in Perry County, where I spend many weekends fishing and sharing time with the outdoors with my family and friends. My grandmother was born in a cabin along the Buffalo River, and we still gather there for Easter and Thanksgiving. Our family also has ties to the Piney, Swan Creek, and Cane Creek. Water is truly in my blood, and there are few things that are more important to me than the well-being of these rivers. For my family, the Duck River isn't just a place on a map, it's part of our daily life and our heritage. The water that runs through this watershed has sustained generations of Tennesseans, farmers, families, and communities like mine. My 83-year-old uncle and I rode down to the river yesterday, where I read him these very words. I've spent much of my life on that river as an avid fisherman and boater. When you spend that much time on the water, you develop a deep respect for it. You notice how clear it runs, the life it supports, and how truly special it is. The Duck is widely recognized as the most biologically diverse river in North America, and that's something we should be proud of, but something we should work hard to protect also. The people I know who care most about the river are sportsmen, anglers, boaters, hunters, and people who spend their time outdoors and understand that healthy waters mean healthy wildlife. Fishing alone contributes more than $1.3 billion annually to Tennessee's economy. supporting thousands of jobs and local businesses across the state. For many of us, fishing is more than economics. It's a tradition. It's time with family and friends and passing something meaningful to the next generation. Designating parts of the Buffalo and the Duck and its tributaries a Class II scenic river, as proposed in House Bill 1510, is an important step in protecting the pristine quality of these waters. That designation doesn't stop responsible use of the river. As a real estate professional, land and farm specialist, I also see firsthand how the health and quality of these rivers affects our local economy. I regularly work with buyers and sellers of property along the Buffalo, Duck, Swan, Piney River and its tributaries. And one of the first things.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. We appreciate your testimony and all of you for coming today and sharing. Members, our guests are here. Do we have any questions for our guest? Chairman Stinnett.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Jones. So if I'm figuring this right, we're talking about 360 square miles of property that we're talking about on both sides of the river within your county. Is that correct?
Mr. Courts, but it please the committee, I think that was Mr. Marsh's, Speaker Marsh's numbers for Bedford County.
Mr. Stinnett, if we can ask, the sponsor's going to come back up in a minute.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Let me continue then.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So if that's pretty much accurate, 90 miles, and that's just in that one county, tell me exactly what can be done in that 2-mile belt on either side of the river.
What can be
What can happen in that?
What's going on right now?
Mr. Jones, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, man.
It's okay.
Please, the court. I'm Mr. Chairman. I've been trying lawsuits too long. I apologize. Representative Stinnett, right now, within the 2 miles, is whatever's occurring right now will continue to occur. Whether you're farming right up at our place, I've got a big bend in the river, and we got over a mile of river frontage, and we leave a buffer zone there along the river itself. But whatever's occurring now can continue to occur. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Chairman Stinnett, you're recognized.
So if I buy 50 acres within that zone, can I build a subdivision?
Mr. Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there's no zoning issues or anything like that, absolutely you could. You couldn't build one in my place because it floods every year. They can't put a landfill in at our place because we have terrible floods every year. That's the reason for the 2-mile buffer.
Mr. Stinnett, you're recognized.
Thank you. So what's the purpose of the 2-mile buffer if we can do anything that's within zoning?
Mr. Jones, you're recognized.
Okay, the purpose of the 2-mile buffer, and just for the record, I'm a volunteer. I retired. I didn't get a dime for being up here. I care about the little river, but the purpose is to protect it, and landfills shouldn't be built right up on the edge of the river, okay? There's no landfill, just for the record, there's no landfill applications pending right now. There's none. I wouldn't have come in here and brought this, and it was my bill, okay? I wouldn't have done this if there'd been valid applications or applications pending. There's nothing pending, but they want the river bottoms and the creek bottoms. And if you want to do mileage, I'm answering this question, Mr. Chairman. If you want to do mileage, let's do Hickman County. If you fly over Hickman County, you're going to see creek bottoms and the river bottom, and that's it. The rest of it's big ridges. They can't build a landfill on a big ridge. Talk to your civil engineers. Erosion, holes in that pad that they put down. They got all kinds of problems on big ridges. That's the reason they want to take this farmland and put it down there on the edge of the river because it's flat.
Chairman Stinnett.
So the point I was getting to, we're voting just to protect it from landfills, basically.
Mr.
The
Jones.
reasons to protect it, if maybe I didn't get the question right. Absolutely, there are other reasons other than landfills. We want to protect it from anything that could possibly impair or destroy that environment. It's fragile now, okay?
Representative Stinnett,
So what are some of those items?
Mr. Jones.
Well, for one, like pollution, if I put a big hog pen down there in the bottom that started polluting, and y'all know how that runoff can really affect water quality, or poultry. That's even a better one. In Bedford County, the speaker has poultry farms. That's one that's dangerous for the water quality. Anything that would impair the water quality or the environment, the animals, the fish. You have fish kills.
Chairman Stinnett, I'm going to give you one more follow-up, and then are you done?
I'm going to finish. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other members? Seeing none, we're going to go back into session. Thank you for our guests for appearing here. Yes. Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Before you do, we also have some other guests. TDEC is here and available to speak, and I would like to ask them some questions while we're out of session.
Without objection, we'll go out of session again. And if the members of TDEC would come, and looks like an army. Oh, no, they're not all coming. Okay. Yes. Okay, members of TDEC, I am going to give you 3 minutes each. Nope, you don't need that much. Just give and take. Thank you, Miss Alley. Chairman Todd, you're recognized. And these individuals were signed up to be available for us today, for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing I wanted to ask about the biodiversity that's always talked about. Is there is the entire Duck River the biodiverse river, or is it a section of the river, maybe upstream of Columbia? I've never asked that question before, so I don't know the answer. And I'm curious to know if you might even have that. You may or may not have that.
And please identify yourself with TDEC, who is going to answer that and what your role is.
Sure.
Yes.
This is April Grippo. I'm the Director of Water Resources for TDEC. I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I think I've always thought that it was the entire river that was considered the most biodiverse for the fish, mussel, and other aquatic species.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is really the main questions I wanted to ask is, I know you guys do a lot of water sampling, and you also have access, you get reports in from anybody that's discharging into that river that have NPDES permits. How clean is that river on your scale of however you judge the cleanliness of a river? And if you would also, as you answer that, talk about the condition of compliance with the Columbia wastewater system, specifically in its discharge.
Ms. Avon, you're recognized.
Hi, April Grippo. We do sample the Duck River every 5 years. We just finished sampling last year, and we haven't quite analyzed that data yet. But in the previous 5-year cycle, we did have several segments of the Duck River that were impaired for one or more pollutants, such as low dissolved oxygen or high levels of E. coli that we attributed to maybe grazing or animals in the stream. And so there are, like many rivers in Tennessee, but we do have some segments that are considered impaired. We prepare a list that we send to EPA. We're required by Section 303 of the Clean Water Act to submit those impaired segments and what the parameters are that they're impaired for and what we think are the sources. For Columbia in particular, downstream of the Columbia wastewater treatment plant, there in that previous 5-year period, there was an impairment for dissolved oxygen that we attributed to the wastewater treatment plant. In recent years, the wastewater treatment plant has violated the ammonia limits that are in their permit. However, the Columbia wastewater treatment plant is under expansion right now. That is a project that TDEC helped to fund through our American Rescue Plan funds, and we are hopeful that that will resolve some of the issues that they've had with violations.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the next question, I'm not sure who will answer this, but related to the Class 2 Scenic River Act, is it meant, from your history, from what you know about it, is it meant to prevent landfills? Is that really what it's for the future going forward?
Ms. Grippo, you're going to yield to someone else here?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
please.
please state your name. We know you're with TDEC, but state your name.
Stephanie Derman, Deputy General Counsel. Honestly, I'd have to refer back to the General Assembly about what your intent was in enacting the Scenic Rivers Act. I think it was broader than landfills. I think in effect, as you mentioned earlier, it has the most effect on landfills. It is other portions of it talk about land uses, but those are vague and haven't really been implemented. So just as a practical matter, it has the most effect on landfills.
Chairman Todd?
This would be directed to Ms. Williamson. From the standpoint of this Scenic Rivers Act that we're trying to put on these sections of rivers and streams, relate that to me to the other laws that we have regulating landfills, because I think that's the center. I mean, our witnesses have kind of testified that's what this is all about. So I'm assuming we have other laws. Can you just maybe hit the high points of what those are and maybe their difficulty level of getting something through, getting a landfill application through compared to this route?
Ms. Williamson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Allie Williamson, Legislative Director for TDEC. And Chairman, I want to be able to, I wish I was that smart to answer that question. I apologize. May I defer to Jeremy Hooper, please?
You're recognized.
Jeremy Hooper, I'm a advisor in TDEC's Bureau of the Environment. So in terms of getting a permit for a landfill, you have to get approval through TDEC, of course, but there are potentially at least, outside of zoning, there are at least 2 other state laws that a landfill may be subject to in terms of getting approval before TDEC can even consider it. One of those being the Jackson Law, the other being what we refer to as the Part 8 Regional Solid Waste Plan Board approval. Not all counties or municipalities in the state have adopted Jackson Law, but the ones that have, a landfill is potentially subject to that. They are potentially subject to the Part 8 as well. And if that's denied at that level, TDEC cannot review that application.
Chairman Todd?
And there are local layers as well?
Mr. Hooper?
Zoning, I would presume, yeah.
Chairman Todd?
And regional authorities, did you mention that?
I did.
Mr.
That's the Part 8 board I was referring to.
Chairman Todd?
Okay. And so those are in one category. If you want to get a landfill, you got to go through all of those steps. A lot of local control there, a lot of zoning, everything you mentioned. The Part 8, if you put this law on it, what does that do? If we put a Class 2 Scenic River Act law on this section of river, what does that do related to a normal landfill application?
Mr. Hooper?
It would seem to prevent that from being heard. There are, as you said, the lawsuit regarding ones that are currently permitted prior to the scenic status being added a couple years ago, that the courts, I guess, are deciding how that affects them. But if someone came to us and said, I want to put a new landfill here, it would seem that they could not.
Chairman Todd? Okay. Any other questions for our friends from TDEC? Thank you, and you're dismissed. And now we'll ask the sponsor, we'll go back into session, and we'll ask the sponsor, Speaker Marsh, to come and see if you have some additional information and inspiring words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, we have some very passionate folks, mainly on my side, but a few on the other side. So I would like to just throw it out and ask you all to please give me a favorable vote.
All right. Are we ready to vote? Any other questions? Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
I certainly don't want to hog the microphone, but this is, I'm very passionate about this because I've seen what it does. I've seen how this same group brought a lot of money and a lot of lobbyists to this room and got us in a lawsuit. And we're going to lose that lawsuit and write a big check to somebody that already had a permit, but we don't know who all's affected by this one. And we just heard from TDEC, the experts, this isn't my opinion. This is circumventing state law around landfills. It never was intended to be that. And we're utilizing a law about scenic rivers of all things to just put a total bypass on all of our solid waste laws. And I co-chair the task force on solid waste, trying to figure out what are we going to do for the next 50 years with our solid waste. And that's why one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, the property rights issue is one thing, but then to just box ourselves in, and nobody's talking about allowing a landfill in a floodplain. That's absurd. You can't do that. All of those layers of laws and regulations that we have in place would absolutely prevent that. And I don't know that there's any place along this river, anywhere, that would be appropriate. But I do know there's one lawsuit right now that we're going to lose and spend a lot of taxpayer dollars on settling, because a few folks got together, put a lot of money into it, and persuaded this legislature to pass the same thing a couple of years ago. And that's what I don't want to see us do again. I'm trying to look out for the taxpayers. I'm trying to look out for their, protect their rights first and foremost. That's what this is about. This, to me, is not about landfills at all. It's about property rights and circumventing those rights by putting this blanket law over them that's never supposed to be used for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Speaker Marsh.
I understand that, and I'm on the side of looking out for the landowners around the river that want to protect their river, protect their way of life. I'd ask for your favorable vote.
Representative Shaw, and let me just say this, that we have another 25 minutes and this meeting is ending with whatever's left. So Representative Shaw, for a question for the sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sitting here trying to process how do we determine where landfills are going to go just because we're talking about the Duck River. I mean, people put in landfills everywhere. And that not every landfill is going to go by the river because there's not enough rivers. So I think we're mixing some stuff up here. And I think these people have come down here and I think they have proven what they want to do with their property and how they want to protect it. I respect that. And I appreciate you all being here, and I think we've argued long enough. And I'm for voting this up or down. And Speaker Marsh, thank you for bringing it. And I'm voting in your favor because that's what the people have said they wanted. And I mean, we just have to deal with the lawsuits later if there is any. But I mean, we've been here all day discussing this, and we're just going over and over and over and over again. And we got to do something. So I'm just saying, let's take a vote.
Speaker Marsh.
I'm good. Thank you.
Representative Jones. Good. All right, we're ready to vote.
Previous
now.
question.
Yep. All right, we're ready to vote. If you're in favor of House Bill 1510, is that right? Yes, 1510, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Clerk, please open the board. And clerk, would you announce the total?
Mr. Chair, you have 7 ayes, 2 nays.
House Bill 1510 moves to full committee. Next, we're going to be moving to item number 72205 by Representative Kiesling. And do we have a motion or a second?
Motion.
There's a motion, second. Representative Kiesling, you do not have an amendment, do you?
No amendment, Chairman.
Please present your bill, House Bill 2205.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Committee. 2205 is relative to our rural water system priority list with TDEC. House bill, and the bill was brought to both Senator Yeager and I from our friends at the Upper Cumberland Development District. If this passes, this bill would ensure that the rural communities that are not left behind when it comes to water infrastructure funding. The bill would direct the department, TDEC, to include water system projects located in rural counties on their priority list for consideration under the state's water revolving fund program. Many of our small rural and rural counties struggle to finance water infrastructure improvements, and I know many of you all are aware of that. Even though these systems are critical for public health and economic development, simply put, the bill gives rural counties an opportunity to be more competitive when applying for these types of funds from the state. I do one highlight I do want to make. Currently, now this a rural county is the definition of that is with a population of under 57,000, and that's based on the 2020 census. The projects right now that are prioritized or on that list are drinking water upgrades, wastewater improvements, system modernizations, and infrastructure replacements. And again, this would include, or this would allow rural counties to be included on that priority list. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll try to answer any questions.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Do we have a question for Representative Keisling? Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the bill. I just have a question on the fiscal note. It says not significant. Is it because the funding is just being redirected to include the rural counties? Representative?
Representative Keisling, you're recognized.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay. All right, members, any other questions? We're ready to vote. Clerk, if you would open up the board and let's vote. If you're in favor of House Bill 2205, vote yes. If not, vote no. If all members voted that are present, if anyone want to change their vote, clerk, would you read the vote total?
Mr. Chair, you have 8 ayes, 0 nays.
The bill passes 2205 to full committee. Thank you, Representative Keisling, for your patience today. We are moving to House Bill 2463. I don't see Mr. Pearson here. Representative Chairman Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move this to special calendar 3.
There's a motion second. Without objection, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We've disposed of that one. House Bill HJR 780 by Representative Renault. You are recognized. There's a motion.
May I have a second?
You'll be recognized. There's just a motion, no second. The bill fails. Okay, Representative Renault, we will go to number 2392. That is your bill. Need a motion on, there's a motion. Okay, there's a motion. There's not a second. Representative Vidal seconds. Representative Renault, you're recognized on 2392.
I'd just like to roll this 2 weeks. The Senate has not been able to adopt an amendment that would make the bill, so.
Without objection, we're not going to roll it 2 weeks. We're going to roll it to the next available calendar because I think we're going to finish things up next week. So we'll roll it to the next available calendar. All right. That gets us down to Chairman Todd's bill, 2518. There's a motion. Second, Chairman Todd on 2518. I believe you have an amendment on that. Is that correct?
I'm drafting code 015028.
Okay. Is there a motion on the amendment? Motion. Second. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Any opposed? The amendment's on the bill. Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill strengthens the Office of Cooperative Marketing for Recyclables within TDEC. It modernizes this office that already exists by housing a recyclable materials marketplace inside the office. OCMR will maintain information on recyclable supply in order to connect materials and industries that can use them. The bill strengthens TDEC's role by improving internal coordination and transparency in statewide recyclables marketplace, and this new advisory council will assist TDEC in developing the marketplace. It also creates this Recycling Market Development and Diversion Advisory Council. It is a public-private advisory council made up of industry members, recycling professionals, state agencies, legislators, and local government representatives. With that, I'll
Members, you've heard the explanation of the bill as amended. Do we have a question for Chairman Todd? No questions. I recognize Representative Shaw. Question has been called for. Members, if you would please vote in the affirmative if you are for this bill as amended, or no if you're not. Clerk, please take the roll for us, for those that are here and present. Thank you. There we go.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 ayes, 0 nays.
The bill passes, House Bill 2518 to full committee. The final bill that we'll be taking up today is House Bill 2513 by Representative Grills. There's a motion, a second.
Bill to the Hill. I'm sorry, to next week's calendar.
There's a motion to move this bill to the next available calendar. And there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any objection? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? It'll be moved. You'll give me just 1 second here. I think. All right, members, we've gone through our allotted time. So without objection, we're going to remain the remaining bills that we didn't get to today. We need to reconsider our actions on item number 11. Without objection, we'll move to House Bill 2463 to final calendar 2. And with that, members, we have gone through our allotted time. So without objection, we will roll all the remaining bills 1 week. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn? We're adjourned.